And the United States is weighing a financial lifeline for one of its closest Gulf allies as the ongoing Iran war continues to rattle the global oil markets and regional economies. President Trump says his administration is considering a currency swap agreement with the UAE, a move that could provide emergency access to the US dollars if the conflict worsens. The proposal coming as the Iran war disrupts oil flows and financial stability across West Asia, raising concerns even among oil-rich nations. Despite holding around $270 billion in foreign reserves, the UAE is exploring safeguards against potential liquidity stress if the conflict escalates, reportedly. And the backdrop is also quite important. The Strait of Hormuz, the key global oil route, carrying nearly 20% of the world's oil supply. Any disruption there sends shockwaves through global markets. So oil prices have already surged, with Brent crude nearing $100 a barrel, reflecting rising geopolitical risks at the same time. But what exactly is a currency swap? Let's just break this down. A currency swap is basically an agreement between two countries, central banks, to exchange currencies. In this case, US dollars for UAE dirhams for a fixed period. And this allows the UAE to quickly access dollars, which are critical for global trade, debt payments, stabilizing financial markets. In times of crisis, such arrangements act as a financial safety net, helping prevent currency volatility, liquidity shortages, and broader economic instability. Now, talks are still at an early stage, reportedly, with no formal request made yet. But the discussions highlighting growing concern over the war's economic fallout. And analysts are warning the conflict could trigger currency volatility, inflation, slower global growth, especially if oil supply disruptions worsen. So that's very important. There are also longer-term implications, of course, including the possibility of countries exploring alternative currencies for oil trade, which could challenge the dominance of the US dollar. On to West Bengal now. It's heading for that high-octane poll battle and officially into the silence period for 152 constituencies that are heading to the polls on the 23rd of April. The multipolar contest involving the ruling TMC, the BJP, the Congress, and Communists. The silence period does not apply to constituencies that are going to the polls during the second phase, meaning half of West Bengal pretty much is still witnessing full-blown political campaigning. The BJP and the TMC continue to exchange allegations. The Home Minister Amit Shah said that the state government had encouraged infiltration to consolidate its voter base. The TMC, on the other hand, has accused the BJP of trying to manipulate the electoral process. In a written complaint before the Election Commission, the TMC alleged the BJP is bringing in voters from Surat to West Bengal ahead of the elections. Meanwhile, the stage is set for voting across the 152 seats. The 152 seats, security arrangements have been tightened in and around the polling booths. Highest ever personnel of the Central Armed Police Forces have been called for election duties in the state. And here's a look at the key candidates who will be on the ballot in the first phase. First up is Suvendu Adhikari. He is the leader of the opposition in the West Bengal Assembly. Adhikari is a political heavyweight who, remember, defeated Mamata Banerjee from the Nandigram seat in the 2021 Assembly election. Next up, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. He served as the leader of the Congress party from 2019 to 2024. Currently, the Member of Parliament from the Berhampur seat. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee also contesting in the elections, and that seat where she's contesting from also heading to the polls during the second phase, in fact. She is seeking the fourth consecutive term as the West Bengal Chief Minister, and the results for the Assembly polls in West Bengal will be announced on the 4th of May. Is flattery the best way to win over US President Donald Trump? As Ukraine struggles to get American support on retaining control of Donbas, A new report has shed light on a rather unique tactic to try and get Trump on its side, it seems. As per Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the US has been pushing for conceding Donbas in its entirety to Russia to ensure a peace deal. And in that backdrop, the New York Times revealing that Ukrainian negotiators have basically proposed renaming the Donbas territory under its control to Donnyland. While this name has not been mentioned in any written document so far, this is perceived as Ukraine's attempt to convince the Trump administration to push back against Russia's territorial demands. Seen as a mixture of Donald and Disneyland, it's about 50 miles long, 40 miles wide, lying in Donetsk. That's the map for you. Since 2022, Russia has gained control of close to 20% of Ukrainian territory, which includes nearly 90% of Donbas. And that's not all. Ukrainians have gone a step further, it seems. According to the report, they floated the possibility of Trump's Board of Peace administering this area. This comes even as neither Ukraine nor Russia have joined the grouping so far. As per the report, the Ukrainians even created a Donnyland flag with green and gold colors and a national anthem using ChatGPT. However, it's unclear whether this was shared with the Americans. They also reportedly suggested this region be run like a semi-autonomous state with an economic zone. And this comes at a point when Trump has been on a self-naming spree, remember? For instance, in December last year itself, John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts and the U.S. Institute of Peace building in Washington were renamed after him. Additionally, Trump launched a new class of warships named after him. He even reportedly demanded that the Washington International Airport and New York's Penn Station be renamed after him in exchange for releasing federal funds for a vital rail tunnel project. This, of course, is not the first time governments have used this tactic to be on America's good books, or good side rather. In 2018, the then Polish president pitched the idea of contributing $2 billion towards the creation of a permanent US military base in Poland named Fort Trump. While this idea did not materialize, America's bid to expand its military presence in Poland has also been significant. In 2019, the Israeli Prime Minister announced the creation of a settlement in Golan Heights named Trump Heights. This came after the U.S. formally recognized Israel's sovereignty over Golan Heights. Trump even has a transit route named after him. When Armenia and Azerbaijan signed a peace declaration at the White House last year, they outlined a new transport link from Europe to Central Asia, bypassing Russia and Iran. And this route was named the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity. When a piece of luggage goes missing at a music festival, it usually contains a pair of sunglasses, maybe some rings, clips, maybe even a purse. But when that luggage belongs to the Queen of Pop, the stakes transcend a trip to the lost and found. Following her viral Coachella performance alongside Sabrina Carpenter this past weekend, Madonna took to social media with a desperate plea. She said that a vintage corset, jacket, boots pulled directly from her personal archives had vanished from her dressing room. The icon wrote that she discovered the vintage pieces went missing were not just clothes, they are part of history. In fact, in the modern landscape of celebrity culture, these missing items should not be viewed merely as a lost suitcase. They are stolen artifacts. We are, after all, living in the golden age of fashion archiving, where nostalgia continues to dictate both runway trends and also pop culture narratives, transforming the garments worn during iconic musical eras into highly liquid assets. With her highly anticipated Confessions 2 album on the horizon, the cultural and financial value of this specific wardrobe has skyrocketed. On the private collector's market, recognizable vintage pieces from legacy artists routinely fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, because collectors are not just buying silk and leather, they are purchasing a physical piece of a cultural moment. much like fine art or rare watches. Iconic stage wearing consistently appreciates in value, making it a lucrative target for high-end thieves or black market fashion brokers as well. In the year 2023, Michael Jackson's black and white leather jacket worn from a famous commercial was auctioned. This was for $306,000. The year before that, Kurt Cobain's Smells Like Teen Spirit guitar was auctioned for $4.5 million. In 2020, Elvis Presley's 1942 guitar was also auctioned for $1.32 million. Madonna's Coachella mishap highlighting a growing logistical nightmare for today's biggest stars as well. The challenge of protecting a wearable museum in a way. Increasingly, artists are treating their personal closets less like walk-in wardrobes, more like high-security bank vaults. When Madonna stepped onto the Coachella stage to perform her hits, she wasn't just wearing an outfit, she was donning an artifact. And now that physical piece of history seems to have been gone. Whether the disappearance was the work of an overzealous fan, a coordinated backstage heist, or a simple logistical error, the loss is a heavy one. When your life is public to this extent, your history often becomes public property. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.